Oh, right. Well, way back in the long, long time ago, I played a game I fucking loved a lot. And it was called Mass Effect 2. Now, I played a little bit of the first one. I got both of them to kind of together. And the first one is good. It's interesting. I played through it. It was neat, and there was some very janky mechanics with the exploration and such. But at the same time, we came out with the second game, and the game was fucking unbelievable. You had a space opera that you could go about. It was all near tech future. It all looked really nice. The combat was very satisfying. The NPC interaction was fantastic because you had full on dialogue choices that mattered. But it really got me thinking that I liked Mass Effect 2 so much, and there's certain recent announcements with BioWare coming out with Mass Effect 5 and Mass Effect TV show that really got thinking that, like, man, we are in for some pretty tragic potential for the Mass Effect series. And it all leads back to the fact that the BioWare making games now today is not the same BioWare that made Mass Effect 2. In fact, many of the people who have left the main BioWare company have, just outright left and given up on these projects. And nothing can show that disconnect more than Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game that was overwhelmingly disliked and discarded by the general gaming population. A game that should have saw hundreds and hundreds of thousands of players on launch on Steam to indicate a massive following and a massive hype for. But of course, we never saw any of that, as Veilguard is currently under 50,000 players on Steam per day. And that's a game that is a recent BioWare title that is just slipping in terms of player accountability. If you look at this, there is essentially maybe potentially a couple 100,000 people that bought this at most. Early estimates are varied. Of course, we'll never get the right number, but let's be honest, if 437,000 people bought this fucking game, they would have like none of the people who bought it have been playing it for this last little bit, which is actually kind of hilarious. So I mean, it's pretty clear that BioWare has been fucking the dog on all these games, and I have absolutely no faith in them for making the next Mass Effect game or the next Mass Effect TV show, which apparently is coming out and got announced today. And well, we all know that Amazon can throw as much of Jeff Bezos's ill-gotten money around in any type of way he wants, as we saw with Rings of Power, an overwhelmingly hated show that had just utterly butchered the Lord of the Rings franchise, that makes most Lord of the Rings fans not even count it as nothing mere but a mere porn parody at this point. But what about that BioWare magic? How about that BioWare heritage and values? As you can see on their site, is just an HR commulation. It doesn't even look like a video gaming website. It looks like a job application, for fuck's sakes. I mean, you gotta have a little bit of curiosity on how BioWare ended up creating such a shitty website for themselves. How can they make a fucking good game for us? And it's actually hilarious that on the front page they say, BioWare has been doing this for this long, when most of the people who have fucking worked there, worked at the game, made all these games, don't even work in the same fucking place anymore. So it's pretty safe to say that Mass Effect 5 is gonna be a woke fucking disaster, because the same people who made fucking Veilguard are fucking making this. So you're gonna get pronouns in space, you're gonna get RuPaul's fucking drag race in space, you're gonna get trans identity in the near future. And these are just the game. Maybe people will say, well, Dragon Age was always woke. Well, there's that. I don't remember any of that weirdness. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny you could have sex with an alien. I thought that was weird. But in today's world, it's actually a little bit more bizarre to have gender stuff in video games. It's just so out of place. It's so incredibly obnoxious. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna take and butcher a franchise that so many people liked, and they're gonna exist off the name because ultimately right now Bioware is just a vampire sucking off of its old franchises to push stupid fucking woke identity. And as much as I would love for a new Mass Effect TV show and game that are good, I have absolutely no faith in them to make this. What we saw with Dragon Age Veilguard was an overwhelming disdain for the people who made this. Someone who came into our video games, stole popular IPs, butchered them for their own political ideologies, and put gendermancers in charge of pretty much our beloved childhood memories. And well, it might seem like a good idea just to throw as much fucking money as you can at a problem and hope that it somehow sticks. There's just certain amounts of modern creatives that just can't create this shit. They just don't have good ideas, and the ideas they come up with are lame and break the franchise and make it less cool. I mean, just think of how cool Rings of Power would be in the hands of someone who knew Lord of the Rings, who loved Lord of the Rings, who was obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Instead, we get this schlock that was mostly created on a CGI green screen. And, most of these people who make this just generally hate what is the general, nerd club. They just hate us, and they want to break all our stuff so that they can make it all gay and stupid like they fucking are. And it just, it just it's a nasty part of our culture. So almost 15 years ago, BioWare brought us pretty much one of my favorite old school sci-fi games. I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough of Mass Effect 2 when I played it, as it is a game that got me down to the have to get home and play it type mentality. But you know what? Mass Effect 5 is not going to be that. It might have pretty graphics, it might allow you to do gender weird stuff, but you know what? It's not going to be the same game. It's not going to have the creative spirit. It's not going to have the adventurous go anywhere you want to do anything you want to do, because Veilguard has been very linear, and it's true. It's kind of obvious that they want to just make these short condensed stories to push all kinds of narratives, to put all kinds of diversity in it, and they just don't give a fuck about making fun games. They just want to make a game that also has tons of dialogue that nobody asked for. And isn't it hilarious that they are allowed to do this? I mean, in the right hands, Mass Effect could be amazing, but BioWare has clearly just screwed the pooch. And although Andromeda may have gotten good and been a serviceable enough sci-fi game in today's world, especially if you catch it on sale for $5 to $10, I would imagine, it's just not the sci-fi adventure we wanted. And there's absolutely no way Mass Effect is going to be a good game after the shitstorm that this fucking idiotic team brought us with Veilguard. I really did like Mass Effect. I liked Seth Green. I thought he was an absolutely awesome person. But the fandom for this game is going to be very mixed on what comes out of this. I promise you that. The TV show is going to suck. The game's going to suck. And whatever they try and do with Mass Effect is just going to fucking fail, because these are a bunch of uncreative idiots that don't know how to make video games and don't know how to tell stories. So yeah, Mass Effect will very likely be another franchise that they just utterly fumbled, like Gears of War and many of the other ones, from the era of gaming where there's just solid title after solid title. And I think what during the mid to early 2000s into the 2010s, you had a whole explosion of creatives who just loved video games, who knew that they could make money off making wicked video games. So you had huge amounts of titles that were awesome. But as corporatism grew and money became the central focus of making video games, you have a whole slew of people now trying to just push narratives, make shitty games to make money, and they don't really give a fuck about players because they were never gamers in the first place. I really hope that Mass Effect is good, but I have zero faith in modern Bioware for making it, and it is guaranteed it will be full of all kinds of pronoun bullshit and absolute wokeness that people just fucking hate nowadays, and is killing games all across the market, and will continue to do so. So we say goodnight to Mass Effect. RIP Mass Effect, and the next game's gonna be RuPaul Drag Race, guaranteed.